What is going on, everybody? This is BitWZan, and this is Capture the Point, our nonsense debate contest where we pit two members of our crew against each other in order to be named the champ. This week's combatants are the recently defeated champion, Mezentius.
You'd love to say that, don't you?
Oh, yes. And the up-and-coming superstar of the group, Secret Kittty.
Yay.
This is where you break your bones, Kitty. This is where you beat Mez and advance higher. Quick look into our rules for Capture the Point. We will have 2 debate rounds. The judge this week being Minister E. Will decide who goes first in any way he wants to. Who knows with the minister? The contestants both have 3 minutes opening statements. Once both are done, they will have a 10-minute open floor back and forth. The judge awards points to who they believe wins that round. In case of a tie, which seems to be really popular these days, there will be a tiebreaker round. And the judge or the moderator will have to come up with a tiebreaker question to decide the winner. So, all right, with that being said, I will hand the reins over to our moderator for the week, Minister E, and he can let our combatants know what questions they will have. Go ahead, E.
All right. So for this week, we're going to delve into a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is remakes. Are they a good thing or a bad thing? Are remakes terrible or are they awesome? I know my personal feelings on it, but instead of giving my personal feelings, we're going to have Secret Kittty debate whether it is terrible. The remakes nowadays are terrible, and Mez will be on the side of saying remakes are awesome. So we're going to start with the 3-minute opening session. But first, to choose who goes first, I'm going to go into the audience and ask Zan to choose who will go first.
Okay. Well, I decide I was going to come up with some torturous way. In some way that I can make Mez say that Assassin's Creed sucks. I'm trying to think of it right now. But it's not coming to me. So let's have Secret Kittty go first this round.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, Secret Kittty.
So much
Let me
pressure.
get the clock out. Okay, Secret, let me know when you're ready and I'll begin the clock.
All right. I'm ready.
All right, and go.
All right. So movie remakes are pretty bad. Usually when you think about them, they always flop. Some examples I have are Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was just a Tim Burton film. Like, didn't even feel like the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. 90s Godzilla, that shit did happen. Psycho, the original Psycho was good, and it was good because of its time. That we'll go back into that. And lots of horror movies, which is my favorite genre, and they're always remaking them into like things that you forget about the next day. So the reason that movies are good when they come out is because they are of their time, right? So like they usually comment on something going on in their time, or like it has like the mindset of that time, and it's a good way to like see what was going on in the past. When they remake them, it's irrelevant, or it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't make sense for today's time. So that's why they are always flopping, or like great movies that were like great at their time just are irrelevant now. Another reason what makes great movies is the actors' performances. Like, actors will totally make a movie, even if the movie is shitty, but like that actor's performance can save a movie. And when you're replacing the actors in certain movies, then you're not getting the same feel, you're not getting any of that same like emotion or anything. It's just somebody completely different. And those are just a few points on like why remakes always flop and they just suck. Just make your own movie. That's it.
Okay. Right under 2 minutes there. About 1 minute 44 seconds. Going to reset the clock. We're going to give Mez a chance to give his 3-minute opening statement.
All right.
Mez, are you ready?
Yep.
And go.
All right. So for my reason of why remakes can be awesome, like Kitty gave some examples of movies that would be bad, and yeah, those are some pretty bad remakes. But remakes have also been really good, so good that you didn't realize that they were remakes. Stuff like Scarface, where no one would think the original Scarface from like whatever it was in the 30s or whatever. They would always think of the Al Pacino Scarface, even though that was a remake. Or Ocean's 11, that was a remake of an older film as well. Or Wizard of Oz, or like The Departed was a remake. Like there's a ton of these remakes that they come out that are huge successes and that are done well because technology advances. You can get better actors, more well-known directors, stuff like that. Like with the advancement of technology, you can make remakes. You can make films appear better than what they could have done in the past because you can do a lot more with it now. And you want to talk about horror movies? One of Kitty's favorite movies of the year last year was a remake. It was It, and that was a film that got remade and was on your top movies for the year. So saying remakes are terrible is kind of a moot point when you would put a remake as your top movie for a year. And that's my point.
Okay. Okay, that was kind of, damn, Mez. All right. So we're going to head off into round 2, where both contestants gets a chance to duke it out for 10 whole minutes. These usually go over nice and peaceful, and so I'm gonna reset the clock. I'm gonna ask you, Kitty, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Mez, are you ready?
Yep.
And go.
Go.
You may begin.
Oh. Okay, but It was originally a really bad movie, and it was a TV movie, so those are always bad.
But it did exist before, and it was a remake.
Yeah, but most of them flop compared to the ones that actually are good.
You could look at also, and a lot of the superhero movies that have come out. Like Captain America was a movie before, got remade, and now it's way more successful. Superman was a movie before, it got remade, and that's successful now. Spider-Man has been rebooted 3 times.
I don't think it counts as a remake because they're going off of the source material. So, like, they're not going off of, like, this movie that's the source material. They're going off of comics that are source material. Kind of. You know, it's not like they're like, oh Spider-Man sucks.
A remake is something that's like, it's been made before, it was made again. And that's what it was. It was a movie that was made before and made again.
But I think it's specifically talking about movie remakes when they make movies again using that movie as a source material, not as comics.
Well, even that, then, like, you can still find examples of stuff, like the things I said earlier, like Scarface, Ocean's 11. You got Heat was another good remake. Like, those
are so rare, though. Like, when they actually are good, there's so many more bad remakes than there are good remakes. Like, it's like a hidden gem when a remake is actually good.
I think you'd find a lot more good remakes, but you won't think of the original one because the remake is so good you wouldn't think it was a remake. And that's what happens a lot. A lot of the time people will think, oh, this is a good original movie, when really it's not. It's something that came from a older premise that they remade. But if you see something with a lot bigger name, like the ones you gave, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, people know of that one, and I feel like nostalgia will cloud someone's view on what the remake would be, because they would think, oh, this is from my childhood, and I don't want that to change, rather than accepting a new movie for what it could be.
Not always, though, because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is not nostalgia for me, because it's a little older than me, right? But I have seen both, and I can tell you that the Tim Burton one is just a Tim Burton film, just like whatever he touches has his Tim Burton-ness all over it. So, like, it's not always nostalgia, it's just that the movie was good originally, and when they remake it, they muddle it, and they muddle the original feelings, and, like, the feelings that you got from it, and like
That's
everything.
that's what nostalgia is the original feelings you got from seeing it. It's not whether the movie
Because
was great or not. It's like you associate your feelings with that time with the new movie, and like you have to treat it as a different movie, and that's what makes people think remakes are bad when they can be good. It's like people go in with this initial thought that the remake is gonna be bad.
No, that's not what I meant. Like nostalgia for like, oh, I remember that movie. It was so great. It's like movies are supposed to make you feel something, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Like its intended purpose, and then when it remakes it, it's like, what even was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Like it was so confusing, and like none of those characters were likable. But
that's just like one example of a movie. But like if another example too is like the most recent Ghostbusters movie. Was like even before that movie came out, people were down talking it because it was a remake. It's like without even knowing what the movie would be, people were saying it was gonna be bad, and that's I think like that initial bias towards remakes is what makes people think remakes are bad when they can actually be really good. As long as people don't like, it's people go in with an open mind towards it, and I feel like that's the thing that makes people think remakes are terrible, because usually they don't go in with an open mind.
Was Ghostbusters good?
I didn't watch
the
it.
new one? Me either, and that says a lot because there didn't need to a remake. It was good enough already, and it wasn't even that old for
Ghostbusters
it to
didn't
be
need
like,
a movie. It's like that's the point of like it's not if you need something, it's putting it out there for anything. It's like it doesn't matter
because
if you
they
need
want
it or
to
not.
make more money off of like a franchise. They're trying to like work off of like people's nostalgia of a movie, but it like backfired on them because that movie was great in itself and it was great at its time. They didn't need an updated version where they're forcing so many of today's issues on it. Like instead just make a whole different movie that's not associated with Ghostbusters and add those things that you want to address to it. That's the point. Like, but when they're gonna like force it into like a thing that was already like made for a different time, then you're just like ruining it.
You're
That's why
you're
you
not
need to go
ruining
see
it at all.
and that's
It's like
why I
all
don't
it
think
is,
any of us saw it.
All it is adding on to a universe, pretty much. It's like that Ghostbusters universe existed, and they wanted to add on to what was there. So I mean, even with that one, it wasn't necessarily a remake because they would still existed within that universe. But
I thought they didn't exist in the same universe. I thought that was a whole different thing.
No, I don't think that's what it was. But I'm not.
I think
again,
it was. I think that's why
sure
people
I
were
didn't watch
upset.
But,
me either, but I'm like 99% sure
but
that
like,
that's
even
what it was.
Other examples that you were given too, like you said, Godzilla. It's like, yeah, Godzilla was remade from the original ones. They remade it to like Godzilla 2000, but they all remade it again more recently, and that was a lot more well liked.
Better than the 90s, yes, but not
than the original too, and that's why they're considering making a whole series between that and King Kong, which was another remake when they did King Kong Skull Island that was well received. And now they're doing Kong versus Godzilla.
They just want to make more money off of other people's ideas.
But it doesn't matter. It's like it's not that it's the thing is saying if it's awful or if it's good. And I'm saying they can't be good because look, if you look at Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, these are remakes that they were done and that did well, and now they're expanding from that and it's giving stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's giving people things they want to see. Like people want to see King Kong on screen, so they can go and watch this new updated movie and not have to watch like freaking claymation of the original King Kong and actually see something that looks good on a silver screen. And like
Kong has had a lot of bad remakes as well, though.
So are you telling me that you would go back and watch the original King Kongs and say that they were satisfying compared to Kong Skull Island?
Yeah.
Really? That claymation stop motion video is better than what they can do now?
I want to see what was going on in the minds of people at that time.
That's not
why.
Kong is not King Kong is not like a piece based on political ties or stuff like that. It's meant to be just like a monster movie, so it's not gonna have anything big about what's going on in the world.
And like, let's
that's
not
Godzilla,
forget what happened to Japan. Like, it is still a comment on like their world because they have a whole area that was had nukes sent on them.
Yeah, that's
so
Godzilla,
it is
but
still
I'm saying,
a comment.
But
so it was probably
But
sorry.
if you look at the things like the fact that they're like, I feel like with updating graphics, updating all the stuff that you can do with movies, like that, seeing that and seeing stuff you liked and being more updated now and feel fresher is like that can be a great positive for franchises like that are made are more made towards action.
So just make an original monster movie. It doesn't have to be King Kong.
Even if they
Let
make
those
even you go ahead.
let that classic be a classic. Leave it alone. Make
Even
something new.
even if they did make something new, it would end up being compared to that anyway.
That's fine. It can be compared to it because that's where it was inspired from. Inspiration is great. Copying is not.
It's not copying. It's a remake.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like they're
It's
stealing it or saying, "Oh, this is not King Kong. It's King Jong" or something like that. They're not trying to make a ripoff. It's them taking the franchise that exists and updating it. I like that. I got a laugh out of everyone there.
That's the best. I want to see the movie.
exactly. See.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to see King John or whatever his name was. I don't want to see King Kong again. I've seen King Kong in its original form. I want something new.
But I think seeing something updated can be great. It's like, even if it's not an updated thing, it can be something where you bring it for a new audience. Like if you look at some movies that are from Japan or from Korea, and they're being remade for American audiences, like it's being given to an audience that wouldn't have existed before.
Subtitles are better than dubbed.
Or a lot of people don't think that way. Or there's even times where you see a Chinese movie that gets remade for Korean fans because they don't want to see a Chinese movie; they want to see their Korean stars on the screen.
Is that racist?
No, it's not racist. It's giving it to the audience that is going to go see the movie.
And that's time. Oh my God, damn it, Justin! You made me nearly mute my mic just for you to get that laugh out. All right. Shouts out to the King Jong.
I was dying over here. I was trying not to
We
laugh.
heard it. We all laughed on that.
I couldn't like breathe. I was like, oh my god.
I was about to stop the time and say, "Hang on, everybody, get the laughs out." But I figured it was getting close to wrapping up.
It's like King Kong, not King John. I was like,
Oh my god! Oh man!
I don't know how that came to your mind, but well done. I got my laughter for the day.
that was a good debate though. That ended up being really good.
That debate was very, very solid. I did not expect the mess to be coming out firing on all cylinders so well. The movies you named off were big time movies.
Yeah.
And Scarface, Ocean's 11. These are all movies that did extremely well at the box office and are well known. The Departed, The Wizard of Oz, like, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty, you mentioned some really bad ones. That I know the Godzilla movie you're talking about, and that one was. I think people walked out the theater. With that one. The Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I've never seen. But
It's a Tim Burton movie.
I've heard.
It's
I've
just-
heard.
this
Yeah, I've
is-
heard.
that's what
The
it is.
original was better.
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, I'm gonna give this one to Mez just for he gave a lot of content, a lot more content, and he did mention to back up his statements with the technology improving, the
Yeah.
graphics and stuff like that, and also one he really hit because I used to do this was the closed-mindedness when people go in and say, "Oh, a remake, oh, already it's a fucking 2" before I ever see the movie. A lot of people go in to see a movie, hear it's a remake, and will have closed-mindedness. I had that with Judge Dredd, so I could attest to Mez giving a correct statement there. The new Dredd movie turned out to be much better than the Sylvester Stallone one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I had
By
to
a
approach it with an open mind and not, rag on it with biased. So,
Yeah.
good points there.
I like to say like, yeah, you both gave good points. I kind of like torn, like thinking like, I mean, I wasn't judging it, but I was torn like, man, who would I go? Because like, I really, really, really liked Kitty's point about whether good or bad, the original movies,
The source material.
are the original source material of the movie, or the movie itself, is a product of its time. Like good or bad, it's the product of its time, and it's whether it's saying something or not. Or like usually movies say something about the time. It has that like sentiment value with it, where it's like this is what it is. Like it is what it is. It's a product of its time and stuff like that. So remaking it, it's like kind of like yeah, do your own thing then. Like create your own stuff and make a product of your time. Like Get Out, it's a product of this time now. Like, can you imagine it being like 20 years from now? Or like when you're making original monsters, like the Cloverfield monster is a product of its time. Like that's a monster that's of this era that's completely new. It's not Godzilla and it's not King Kong.
And I 100% agree with you there, because I actually don't like remakes. I'd rather them make a sequel. Personally, I'd rather them say, you know what, give the original creditors their due and say you're making a sequel. That's what I'd rather. Yeah. But in terms of the debate,
no, absolutely. Like I said, I was torn between both because Mez came out with some strong things too. I was because when Kitty gave her first thing, I was like, oh wow, that's really good statement and stuff like that. Then Mez came out with his stuff, and I'm like, yep. There's always that thing where if people don't know it's a remake, they think it's an original product, they love it, and they don't even think about where the source material came from. And probably the biggest thing that hurt Kitty was the fact that Mez hit her with that thing was favorite movies of last year. And she even laughed about it. I was like, oh man, that's a big one right there.
She just took
honestly,
favorite remake.
Like when I was doing like my research for this stuff, like I didn't even like come across that one. What reminded me was when Kitty did her opening statement, and she was like, "Oh, like especially with horror movies," and I was like, "Oh wait, was it?" It's like she brought that to my mind.
Yeah, I think I wrote down here on my comments, that was a gut punch by Mez.
But both of you guys on that one, because that's like I said, I was like split down the middle for a good portion of the other bite, because I really liked that statement that Kitty was saying about that. But yeah, Mez was like strong too, so I was like, damn.
I personally agree. I agree with Kitty's joint personally, but yeah, Mez, you got the win on this one.
It's hard too because like we're assigned these, and I'm like, what if I disagree though?
That's the best part. That's
usually,
usually what I try to get to. I try to get people on the opposite side of their own fence.
A lot of ministers' questions are really like subjective, and it's like, what my personal feelings are this? Like, it's like, well, you got to debate on the other side of it then, or something.
Fight it off.
Yeah.
So that topic rolls right into the next one, and it's kind of vague, but I want to leave it open-ended there. I was going to do it just on movies, but I said all entertainment pretty much. So the question for number 2 is entertainment more creative now, or was it entertainment more creative in the past? So, Mez, you will be debating that entertainment is more creative now, which is kind of close to your first question. Mm-hmm. And Secret Kittty, you will be debating if entertainment was more creative in the past, which kind of rolls into yours as well. So once again, I'm going to dip into the audience pool to ask who's going to go first.
Oh, it's Mez.
It's Mez.
We're fair here.
I do it. I will do it unfair for sure. I'm like, yo, you wanted to go twice, audience? You got it. It's like, you know my coin already. You know how biased my coin is.
The mental coin.
Mental coin is fast. All right, so Mez, I got the clock ready.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, and go.
All right, so the reason I think that a lot more entertainment can be more creative now is because you can look at the amount of forms of entertainment out there, and each of these and how fast stuff is coming out. Like you have video games, you got comic books, you have movies, TV shows, like YouTube videos, all this like other platforms for entertainment, and stuff is coming out at a constant rate, and everything could be so different from one another. It's like there's so many different niche groups now that you can see like that a lot more people are putting more creativity into this stuff, and in order to succeed now with so much stuff coming out, you have to be creative and you have to be kind of out there. So this mass amount of things being put out is forcing people to be more creative, being more outlandish, and being more seen in order to be like to stand out from everyone else. So this whole like mass field of entertainment and how easy entertainment is to access now has created a playing field where you have to be creative in order to survive, in order to be noticed, or else you won't get anything done. So I feel like this whole playing field of all these different forms of entertainment, all these different outlets, and how fast stuff can be produced nowadays is forcing people to be more creative. Like even looking at movies and movie release schedules now, you like before you'd get a couple summer movies and that's about it. Now you have movies coming out all year round. So and that's forcing directors, forcing writers, and forcing everyone else to be more creative in their ventures in order to get their movie seen, in order to get any kind of profit. And that's my point.
Okay, got you at 154. All right, that was Mez's opening statement. Now we're going to switch it over to Secret Kitty. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, and go.
So, I think things were definitely more creative before. Just because of the rise of social media, right? Like in our generation, people share ideas constantly, and people rip off other people constantly, or they build off of their ideas. So, like, you could have an original idea, and you can whisper it to somebody, and then and they'll post it, and then everybody will steal your idea. Just like Mez was saying, like the way that things are produced so fast, like on YouTube, somebody will come up with a mediocre idea on YouTube and it will be overdone a million times where it wasn't that great of an idea, but people will keep doing it because they see the success of others. So it's not that they're creative, like one person had a mediocre idea and now people are just overplaying it. So they're just building off the success of other people. That's kind of all I have.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, you gotta say that you're finished though. I'm not gonna stop the clock until you.
I was like, I don't know. So yeah, people, and with remakes the same, they want to build off other people's success. And before, people, I feel like were more passionate about their things, and now they're just like, yeah, what's gonna get me more money? What's gonna get me more views? What's gonna do that? So their heart really isn't into it. They just want to be successful without adding good content. Now I'm really done.
All right. So, good points for sure from both of you. We're gonna roll right into the open debate that lasts 10 minutes, and it's often peaceful. No raising voices, no nothing. People are usually kind and calm about this. So, we're gonna reset the clock here. You got 10 minutes. Mez, are you ready?
Yep.
Secret Kitty, are you ready?
Yes.
Secret Kitty, are
Yeah, I'm ready.
And you may begin.
All right. So like you were saying, it's like people would redo and everything just for like profit, but it's like in order to be seen and make a profit, you have to be creative. You can't just redo anything because no one's gonna watch it. No one's gonna see you stand out from anything if you're just doing the same thing someone else is doing.
I would have to disagree. YouTube is a great example at this. One person came up with like 100 layers of nail polish, right? And then it blew up and everybody started doing something. And they didn't even credit her is the thing. Like people started doing 100 layers of foundation, 100 eyelashes. It was so fucking stupid. Like the concept was funny, right? The original one, but then like it just became this stupid thing that like became a fad, and then it's not even creative. Like the original idea was like funny and okay, but like then it's not even that great anymore. People are just building off of other people.
The fact is, like, they're at that point, it's like there had to be an original idea though, and that original idea is not something that came from all the way in the past. It's something recent. It's like you have to, at some point, someone has to make an original idea now, even for that stuff to be a fad.
Right, and like because of social media, there isn't that many. There's so few, and then people just
No,
like overuse it.
I disagree because these fads go in and out so fast. You have to make something new immediately for these trends to go. So like you would have like that trend for like the 100 layers or whatever, but that lasted what, a month, 2 months. It's like and then by that time it was done. It's like they had to create something new afterwards. That kind of thing. It's like it garners having to have creativity to create whatever the new fad would be after that. And that's only talking about YouTube, not every form of entertainment, like movies, TVs, comics, and stuff like that, where you kind of have to do that in order to make more money.
It's the same thing. They're just going to build off of what was already there. So they're not really... I want to see something new, like our previous one. I want to see King John, or whatever his name was.
Like Suicide Squad built off of Guardians of the Galaxy, copied off of that. So is that what you mean?
Suicide Squad existed before that, okay? The source material was the actual comics. Please, sir.
But yeah, it's like, but even like that kind of stuff is like, you have to, in order for anything to be successful, you have to be more creative.
Or how Deadpool is a knockoff of Deadshot.
Yeah, it's blatant.
Okay, we're on the same page, right?
Yeah. And that was because they made Lobo. It's like, we're gonna go into a whole different thing. We're not gonna talk about DC and Marvel right now. But the point is, like, the stuff now, like, you have to be more creative in this landscape in order to be seen. Because if not, you would be passed over, you'd be seen as a fad, and you'd be forgotten. It's like, if you want to be successful...
most things, I feel like, become fads. They're not timeless like other concepts. Like, Superman is timeless, Iron Man is timeless, Spider-Man. People think back on those.
That kind of stuff, those are the stuff that stood out at that time. That's not everything. Those are the things that stood out and still progress to this time. That's not speaking like Superman wasn't the only thing back then. There was tons of other things. That was just the only thing that lasted, so it's the thing you remember. It's like fads are going to be in and out no matter what time period you're in. It's like, I'm sure there were fads back then. We just don't know about them because they didn't last.
I feel like we live in a world of fads, though. Like, memes, you forget about that the next day. And, like, shitty movies, they're like, you go see them because they seem interesting, but then, like, they're kind of shitty, so then you don't think about them again. Like, there are great movies, but a lot of them aren't great.
If you compare the amount of great movies you see now to the amount of great movies in the past, there's going to be a lot more in the past just because there's a lot more past, but they come out more frequent now. So you see a lot more clustered of great movies coming out now because it's for this, like I'm saying, it's forcing people to be more creative and think more outside the box. Like a movie like Get Out, it's like, that's another thing. It's like, that's a creative piece, and that's why it was so good. It's like, you would see a lot more movies like that. Like, that's the stuff that sticks out, and in order for that to stick out, you have to be creative.
But you don't see a lot of those movies. You saw one, and that's like why everybody remembers that movie, is because there's not a lot of the same thing of that one.
I'll go back to, again, speaking of something we did in the past when we did our top 5 movies of the year. How many of our 5s actually
Stop using my list against me.
No, but I was just saying, how many of our top 5 movies actually, like, interlocked? Like, we each had a different top 5 movie. Like, yours was It, mine was Baby Driver, Minister's was Logan, and Zan's was Get Out. It was like, that's the kind of things, like, where in the past you would see someone's like, and have 4 people and talk about a movie that came out one year. They would all have the same movie being their top of that year because that was all that came out that year. For us 4, we each had different movies being in that top 4 because that's the amount of creativity going on now. It's like, there's these kind of movies coming out in one year that 4 different people who all watch movies will all have different lists of what they consider their top 5 for that year.
Or we're just 4 vastly different people.
I don't think that's what it is, because we're not. I mean, we have we have different opinions, but a lot of our views kind of intertwine, like, between what movies we like, what games we like, and stuff like that. It's like, but it's like the fact that our tops are so different, even within that, it shows that there were that many good movies that came out in one year that we can consider 4 different movies to be our tops.
Yeah, but they're also
4 different games as well.
Of other people's stuff, it was a remake. Like, that wasn't a new creative thing.
Was it a shot-for-shot remake?
No, but it was still a remake.
Then there was some creative input into it.
And then the only real original one I feel like was Get Out.
And Baby Driver.
There's a lot of car action movies. That's not original.
And there's a lot of thriller movies. That's super general to say there's a lot of car action movies. The
Where
way
they have
Baby
to
Driver was
steal
made was
something
different.
and they gotta get away really fast because the cops are there.
That's a super general description of the movie.
That's because the driving movies are pretty general.
Then any movie could be made general. It's like it was just a horror movie with a monster. It's like that's making a bold generalization of the movie. It's not going into what the actual movie was.
Anyways, the most creative one was Get Out.
I would disagree because again, that's why my top was Baby Driver. But that's again another point. What we're talking about is the fact that there's more creativity happening now in order for these movies and games and all these other forms of stuff to stand out.
I think people are just ripping other people off. Like our Overwatch hero. We created that hero, and now it is taken from us. We created that hero on our podcast, and now it is created.
So you're gonna use Overwatch? Like, look at that. Look at Overwatch. Look at the amount of creativity put into Overwatch compared to what a shooting game would have been in the past, where every character looked the same.
So
now
Overwatch
you have all these different characters.
Overwatch is League of Legends, but FPS. That's
and
literally what
League
it
of
is,
Legends
and that's
from
what
the
I've always
80s or
compared
90s?
it to. What?
No, it's a current game as well.
Because like,
I would consider
so
League of Legends
every
to be current
character
as
has
well.
their own set of skills, except your FPS. Like you have you're through that lens. You're not over the shoulder or top down. That's the only difference.
So you're saying
And then-
Overwatch is a ripoff? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it builds off. We can't talk shit about our Lord and Savior, please. But it took from a lot of other things. It took from League. It took from shooter games. It took the same, like the game modes from shooter games as well. Like capture the point.
We've come to a point in our time where everything has been done.
That's what I'm saying.
But you have
like,
to, in order to stand out, you have to take what's been done and add your creative twist to it, and that's what stuff has to do now.
But they still, it's still good. But like,
there's no such thing as an original idea.
They still took from it because it's more accessible now to see other people's work. So
there's no such thing as an original idea in our day and age because everything's either been done or everyone's going to think about it. But it's
exactly
it's
you proved my point. You just proved my point.
It's you putting something creative onto it that makes it stand out, and that's what I feel like it is. Like when someone takes something, adds more creativity to it, and that's what makes it stand out, not just taking something and putting it right back out there. It's like you have to add to it, add your creativity, and that's what makes it stand out, and that's what people have to do.
I'm pretty sure people have remade Overwatch like 1,000,000 times, and it's still pretty successful.
People remade Overwatch and it's successful?
Yeah, what is that one that... fuck.
That shows how successful it is. You don't know the name of it. But you know
Overwatch. I'm not going to play it.
Exactly, so it's not successful.
It's made by the same people that make Smite. And they have the same characters, and because it's free, it's successful. And Fortnite too, that's a ripoff of PUBG. They did was
That's the time.
Okay.
That's time. Okay, you two went in there guns blazing yet again. I thought these things were supposed to be nice and calm. So, Zan just had to speak out on talking about Overwatch.
I didn't say anything. I was just clearing my throat. My bad. I didn't say a thing. Do you already have your pick, E? You already know who you're going to go with? Okay.
Oh, yeah. You guys both hit some really good points. This battle, like I said, I really expected to be shoehorned into, remakes, but you guys just pretty much went straight route. So, Mez brought up some good points, talking about the more content that's out there now, the more competitive people have to be to have their stuff noticed. It's kind of harder to get them to stand out. And Secret brought up some good points about a lot of stuff nowadays. You can find that they steal from the source material, pretty much ripping off what came out in the past and then calling it their own, even if it is a variation. And nowadays, like, the heart is just not into it. People are more concerned with the money, which you kind of see into. So what it really came down to was the question of, if if the stuff in the past is being ripped off. And I think it was answered when Kitty brought up and made mention of the YouTube idea that was taken, and then with the, what was it, 1,000 ways to do makeup or something like that.
100 layer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it got chopped up, and everybody else just jumped on with their own, but they took from that original idea. That kind of disproved that it's harder to come up with new ideas. You could just pretty much steal from someone, and then it will become popular and you will stand out. So I gave this one to Kitty just because of that argument. Yes, just because of that argument.
Man.
Because it did not get disproved.
I disagree with you 100% on that one. I mean, it's your final decision, but I 100% disagree because Mez made the point. Like Kitty got like I think she was like trying to equate originality with creativity. This is two different things. Like Mez was arguing on the basis of creativity. Like people can still be creative nowadays, but even if you're taking stuff from other sources, you can create different objects and create different like material and content. And he made that argument better. Kitty was just getting hung up on the originality of things, and that's two different stuff.
Once you make that distinction that one idea was taken and then people got popular off of it, but the idea was still stolen.
People didn't get popular.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Like, it's still a creative idea. Like, it's not going to get popular just because you rip off of something. Not everything that's ripped off gets automatically popular. It gets popular if it's creative enough, if people can get behind it. It doesn't matter if it's 100% original.
If it's stolen, it's still less creative than the original thing because you took the idea from someone else. And this is not, it's not like it was improved upon with that makeup thing. It was just, we just stole that thing and then we just did our own with our own label on it and kept running with it. And it wasn't just like more than one. From one stolen idea, it was more than one idea.
Because like you look at everything, like Get Out. I love Get Out. It was a creative movie, but it's not an original movie. It was it's kind of based off of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier and stuff like that back in the '60s, where it was the same kind of deal. Like there was this black man who dated a white girl, and he went to go visit her family. All Jordan Peele, Jordan Peele added was like the element of the social thriller and stuff like that. That's not an entirely original movie. It's creative, but it's not original.
The thing is, if you take an idea from somebody else that came up with the bulk of it, but you took it and then you changed one little thing, like, well, instead of the jacket being red, I'm going to make it blue. That doesn't make you more creative.
And that wouldn't make it successful.
But that is essentially what Kitty was saying when she put out that distinction.
Okay, I mean, hey, like I said, you're final decision. But,
yes, the audience disagrees, but the decision
under protest
has been made. So we go to the tiebreaker.
I think that's the real.
No, come on, man. Come on now. And is a minister that kind of guy? That forces tiebreaker? Come on, you guys are
Especially
terrible.
if he has one in the pocket, he's waiting to use.
So we all know that I enjoy the movie Death Warrant.
Oh my god.
I've said it many a times. And I guess I gave you guys plenty of time to research this movie.
No.
So, for the tie-break question, I want to know, how old is Gary Oldman? From the day he was born, so the day he was born, not the year, the very day he was born, up to that day. How old?
What?
Take a guess.
June 7th.
So his birthday would have to come again for him to, just in case it's like, it's the same year or whatever. So it's the birthday. So Gary Oldman's birthday.
65.
Not birthday.
So we have to guess
his age. His age.
We have to guess his age.
65. Okay. What do you say, Mass?
55.
I don't know who Gary Oldman is, by the way.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Very sad.
Tears just came out my eyes.
Get out of
Tears
this podcast group now.
Should I just win because of that?
No, that wasn't the question.
Now I know the next person to be banned. How dare you? He was Sirius Black in Harry Potter.
Oh, I don't know actors' names.
Oh my god.
That's a big character too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Damn Secret. It's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Mez gets it, I believe. Now, question me if I got the math right. So his age is 59, and the closest one would be Mez.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's it, folks. Mez wins this debate.
You know
The
what's
death
gonna?
warrant question didn't come.
I hope
but
you
it
give me
will in the
minister
future.
as a give me a person, make me the or whatever moderator, because you know what's gonna be
Moderator?
my question. Why is
Oh,
death
God.
warrant bad? And you're gonna get why it's bad.
Oh,
No,
man.
no, I'm not. No, I'm not. You know what? I'm gonna say it right there. We're gonna ban that debate from ever happening.
Interesting.
We're gonna ban that debate from ever
Greatest
happening.
Jean-Claude
The
Van
minister-
Damme movie. Death Warrant
minister
versus Street
will
Fighter,
drop
and
his
Minister gets
headset
Street
and
Fighter.
walk off.
I'm gonna
drop my
find
headset.
something for you, minister. I will get my revenge.
I will get my revenge.
What? You didn't think that was a fair tiebreaker? I mean, none of y'all knew his age.
No.
I mean, the debate questions were really hard because I
Yes, they
don't
were.
agree with any of it. I have to
It's subjective. They're really always subjective questions.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
personal opinion.
yeah. And so you can debate better with something you agree with. It's harder when you're like, yeah,
Heart and
remakes
soul
suck so
has to be
much.
against it.
But
Yeah,
the thing
you
is,
gotta
too, is
put
like
your heart and soul.
I also disagreed with both my points. Like,
Oh.
The thing is, what was it? Didn't that happen with the first debate? Oh no.
Yes, it was.
No,
It was the
no.
very first thing you gave us because you
You're
gave
right,
me
you're right.
like modern era
You're right.
wrestling, and you gave Mez
doing it
the
from
golden
the
era
beginning.
Yep.
wrestling, and I had a debate against my favorite era compared to where Mez actually grew up in. Mez never even saw the damn golden era wrestling he was debating for.
Yes, you're right.
Minister
But yeah,
loves doing
I guess
that.
well, updating the rankings that'll put Mez at 4-2. Kitty had 1-4. Sorry, kid, I was pulling for you on this one, but even on that second question, I don't know about. Honestly, I would have reversed the outcomes of both. Like if it was me, I would have reversed the
first
outcomes
and-
of both.
the first
of
and the second
Kitty would have won
answers?
the first, and Mez would have won the second for me. But
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, we're very different.
I mean, if it was up to me, I would have won both. I mean,
I'm sure. Yeah, if it was up to Kitty, she would have won both as well. Like, but all right, I guess that'll do it for this week's. Stay tuned to see who's gonna get their revenge next week, because somebody's always getting revenge on somebody. I was getting revenge on Kitty for the flowers, and now Kitty's gonna get revenge on Mez. I mean, on Minister. This is what happens with this show. It
God.
creates like a need for vengeance.
I'm gonna hit you
but
with
yeah, that'll do it for us.
Monster Hunter.
And Monster Hunter, she's gonna take it out in Monster Hunter.
You'll
now.
see my revenge.
But that'll do it for Capture the Point this week. Tune in next time to see who will be the moderator, who will be the combatants, and who can take the championship away from me, the new champ. All right, this has been Bit W Zan, joined by my good buddies, not saying goodbye forever, saying goodbye for now.